This is the Calvin D Project, where we interview interesting people driven to change the trajectories of those they serve through learning, teaching, and writing. I want to thank you for being here. We're pleased to welcome Antjuan Tobias out of Los Angeles, California. Antjuan, I appreciate you for joining the Calvin D Project podcast this week. Actors, comedians, and writers are so important to our culture, so I want to thank you for being here. Make sure you stick around to the end because some of the most powerful content is the advice portion at the end. Right before we dive in, make sure that you hit the subscribe button if you haven't already, and hit that bell notification icon so that you get more episodes like this one. Antjuan Tobias, tell me a little bit about yourself.
My name is Antjuan Tobias. I'm from Birmingham, Alabama. I graduated from the University of Alabama, where I studied advertising and marketing, international marketing, telecommunication, and film. I worked in advertising for a while. I did great in it. I loved it. But then I realized that I was in corporate America because I was told that's what I was supposed to be doing. I realized quickly that there was something else, a true desire that I really wanted out of my life, which was acting and writing and comedy, a more creative experience. I left all of that and I started acting about, 12, 13 years ago. And now I'm in LA doing my thing. I'm a writer, actor, comedian. Spend all my days performing and living my best life. I'm a cool dude. I'm a mama's boy. Talk to my mom every day. Talk to my dad all the time. I'm still country. I'm from the South. But yeah, man, I'm just a down-home dude, man, out here trying to make my dreams come true, you know.
Tell me a little bit about new projects that you're working on that you can share with us at this time.
Well, I have comedy shows all the time. You can catch me at numerous of comedy shows throughout the week, mostly Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sundays in LA. I will be in Dallas. You're in Dallas, right?
That is correct. I'm in Dallas.
I will be in Dallas in the next 2.5, 3 months. In the next 3 months, I'll be in Dallas. I have shows. But yeah, you can see me doing comedy all the time. I'm wrapping up a show, an NBC limited series show called Angeline now. So I don't know. I think we come out in the spring, but it's on NBC Peacock. You can check it out. You'll see the advertisement coming up towards the next couple of months. We will be out in the spring or the fall. I'm not sure yet. I got a film that I just shot last year called Girl in the Lake that'll be out sometime this year as well. It'll be at probably a bunch of film festivals in Dallas, and a bunch of other places that should be coming out. So I got the film, I got the show coming out, the script that I am working on right now, starring me, that I hope that we'll be able to start filming within the next 6 months or so. And so that'll be it's really funny. It's so funny. So I'm excited about that. That should be coming out probably next year sometime. But yeah, I'm busy, man. I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful because I'm so busy. Literally everything that I asked for and wrote down is coming to fruition, and it's really happening, and it's shocking. Yeah, man, I'm busy.
With you being a comedian, there are a lot of people out there that are funny. And they funny, but they funny to the people that know them.
Yeah.
It's something else being up on the stage and being funny to everybody else. How did you know that you had what it took to be a comedian?
I'm going to probably mention this a lot of times during this podcast. There's a thing called the true desire of your heart, right? It's like this innate thing that you have in your heart that you want to do, who you want to be. And that's always been there my whole life. I think I just had outside factors telling me something different about who I am as a person. I actually had another interview not too long ago, and I was telling someone that I was at one of my best friend's house, Wayman Jackson in Birmingham, Alabama, and him and his wife, they throw really great Christmas parties. And I was in the kitchen talking to his sister, and she was dying laughing. I had been drinking a little bit. I was just talking. And she was laughing, and then somebody else came in the kitchen, and then they started listening. And then before you know it, the whole party was in the kitchen, and I'm standing up talking, and they all dying laughing. And I can feel them laughing, and I can feel the energy, and I just kept going. And that night I went home, and I was like, man, that was a lot of fun. Like, that was really cool. And I kind of let it go. I didn't really think about it at all. And then I just started writing stuff down, and I was afraid to let people see it. It was in me this whole time. I just never, I don't know. I just always thought comedians was like you were born into it or something. I don't know. I went skydiving for my birthday, 2 days for my birthday. And then my birthday came, and I was like, what am I going to do that's going to top skydiving? And I was like, I've been thinking about doing comedy. And I went to a comedy show, and the feeling that I got, that I had thoughts about life and I was telling strangers and they was laughing at it, I was like, oh, this is it. Like, I think this is it right here. I like this more than I enjoy acting or right. Like, I was hooked, bro. I was like, this is going to be my life forever. I just felt it in me, but it wasn't until I got the confidence to let it out. But I always kind of knew that it was something about me that I wanted to express myself in that way. I wanted to be on a stage.
You mentioned the stage. Now, how did you feel the first time you hopped on that stage? That's a big step.
I mean, I was nervous as hell. It was the first one in the world. I hated it. I hated every moment of it. It was awful. It really was, man. Honestly, every time I get ready to go on stage, I'm like, this is an awful feeling. I do love it. I mean, I get nervous when I'm on set, when I'm on stage, but once you get on stage and you start connecting with people and sharing your thoughts with them, and the transference of energy is going back and forth, and you're teaching people something, but you're also making them happy at the same time, is like one of the best feelings in the world. And I just, honestly, when I'm on stage for months at a time and then I have a break, like I just did 3 months, I was working on this show that I'm wrapping up, and I wasn't able to do comedy for about 3-4 months. And I could feel like a slight depression coming on. Like, I need to get on stage. Like, I need to let this out. I mean, it's the best form of therapy. I have a therapist, but comedy is, hate to be that person to go, it saved my life. But it kind of did, you know what I mean? It kind of helped me to live my best life, to live my truth, to be content with who I am as a person. And stand-up has helped me weave out all the bull, and I absolutely love it. It's the best feeling in the world.
Yeah, comedy is therapeutic, even for the person that's receiving it, because I mean, with laughter, that's one of the best things you could ever have, man. Just being able to laugh and just everything that's going on day to day, you can just take your mind off that stuff and enjoy it. Get a good laugh in, man. It's very therapeutic.
Yeah.
What would you say is your approach or your style in comedy when you engage with the audience?
You know what? This is funny. I look at myself like Mary Poppins. Let me explain before you start remembering great.
Say what?
You know the whole spoonful of sugar helps the medicine go down?
Okay.
So it's like if you give someone medicine but you put sugar in it, you know what I mean? Like if you give a dog a treat, you got to put it in some ham or something and then he'll eat the medicine. My comedy is like most comedians, comes out of traumas that I've experienced or traumas of the world. Someone asked me on another interview I had recently, she was like, do I want to talk about racism and sexism and homophobia and ageism, like all the bad in the world? Like, do you want to talk about that? It's like, that's not necessarily what I want to talk about, but that's what the world is. You know what I mean? That's what's happening in the world. That's what happens to me. That's my experience in my life. I feel like that's what I do. I shed light on subjects that I think are messed up in the world, but I just put a spin on it to where you receive it better. So I like to know that when you're on your way home from my show, you're laughing, but you're like, oh, he just taught me something. Like maybe I was being a bad person towards other people. Maybe I was racist. Maybe I was homophobic. Maybe I was transphobic or whatever the case may be. But someone like me, when you have political and like these type of racy conversations with people, you're going back and forth. Nobody really hears anything. They don't hear the other side of the story. And I think my comedy sometimes allows you to hear a different side of the stories, but you have a good time doing it. So I'm like the good teacher. Yeah. It's like, oh, I like taking his class because he teach me something, but I have a good time doing it. And I think that's my approach on comedy. So I take all the things that made me feel bad growing up or still make me feel bad, and I try to express that to an audience in a way that makes them feel good, and then they learn from it later. I think that's my style. That's what I'm fairly new, at figuring this thing out. I got my voice down, like Cat Williams say, try, can't work, try. So I'm trying to figure it out. But I look at myself like Mary Poppins, you know what I mean? Like I give you a spoonful of sugar and get the medicine.
It makes sense. I get it.
I think the best form of comedy, man, I think is smart comedy. Like you have to be smart. It's one thing to be funny, like it's easy. There are a lot of people, you asked me earlier, when did I know that I was funny and I could do comedy? The truth of the matter is, like, I always knew that I was funny. I mean, we went to school together. I was silly. I'm a goofy dude. Like, I was always goofy. So I'm a funny person by nature. I'm a happy person by nature. But it wasn't until, actually, to re-answer your question, it wasn't until I connected with myself and had a real strong understanding of who I am as a person and what it is that I want out of life and how I think the world should look. Once I understood that, and I can put that with just my funny nature, that's when I was like, oh, I'm ready to do this now.
Yeah.
'Cause I'm not just funny. Like, it's like, oh yeah, you funny. Anybody can be a class clown. But are you saying something important? What are you really saying? And that's when I realized, like, oh yeah, I just feel like the time that I have on stage is important. Somebody give me a stage and a microphone. I have 100 or so people watching it. It's like, what are you gonna say? Like, are you gonna say something real? Or are you just trying to get a laugh? Because doing comedy is not just about being funny. That's what people don't realize.
It's easy for people to just go and just pull the low-hanging fruit. You need to get more out of it than that, right?
Right, exactly. You know, because it's not necessarily about me. Honestly, like, I'm like, you know, it feels good for you to laugh at what I'm saying, but it's about me giving you something at my show. You pay to come to the show. I'm gonna give you a good time, but I'm gonna give you a lesson at the same time. I want to elevate your life. I want you to live your best life. That's my goal. That's my comedy.
Like that. Sooner or later, every comedian must deal with some opinionated audience member.
Hecklers.
There you go. Now, being a comedian is a craft. There's timing, there's pacing. What would you say to the person that is tempted to do this during one of your shows, or do any show for that matter?
Yeah, don't do it. Don't do it, because it's like, I mean, you know, sometimes a heckler can say something and it makes your show better on accident. It's interesting because in my line of work, except for writing is different, but when it comes to acting and when it comes to comedy, when you do it well, everybody think they can do it. You know, so many people approach me like, hey man, help me get on TV. And I'm like, dude, you need 10 years of training. Like, you gotta, it ain't, you know, it looks easy, but it's not. To do comedy is not an easy thing. We have rehearsed and practiced and quaffed and worked on this show for you so that when we do it, it looks effortlessly. For the most time, I'm saying things to you that I've thought about for a very long time. It just comes out like it's brand new. So when you interrupt that, you're interrupting my process. You interrupted my show. You don't go see theater, live theater. You're not yelling at the actors in live theater. That's not what you're doing. It's a performance. That's why I'm on an elevated stage. That's why I got the mic. And that's why the lights are on me and the lights are dark on you, because you're supposed to sit down, shut up, and listen to what I got to say. Laugh when you need to laugh. Say oh when you need to say oh, but you're not a part of the show, bro. Like, you're not a part of the show. If you want to have something to say at a comedy show, that just got me amped up right now. But if you got something to say at a comedy show, then do comedy. Like, do it yourself.
They have open mic all the time.
Exactly. Go to do that, but don't interrupt my show. Because for the most part, if you have something to say, it's not helping. It's just like, it's making you feel better because you want to say something. And most people who are hecklers are just cowards who are afraid to do comedy on their own, and so they interrupt other people's shows. So I say, don't do it.
You mentioned theater. You received an award as a leading role
I did.
in theater. You've been on TV series such as Wise, Meet the Browns, Scandal, and movies such as Silicon Beach and Stump the Yard. Being an actor, comedian, writer, there's a certain level of openness to endless possibilities that's required for these roles. How do you determine when a project is right for you?
When they're paying all the money. You know, I used to, back in the day, I do stuff for free. I didn't care. Money is very important to me now. It's like a family, you know what I'm saying? But now, like I said earlier, I'm connected with who I am as a person. Like, I know who I am. I love who I am. And that's very important to me. And there's a particular world that I imagine or envision when I read scripts now. You know what's funny? This year is the first year that I've turned things down. I've never turned. I used to be like, yep. There are projects I'm like, what? Like I made a couple thousand, or you know what I mean? It was just about the money. But now I take projects that connect with me. If I read something and it's in line with me, then I'm all about it. But if it's not in line with who I am, and you know, like again with comedy, if it's just funny for no reason, then I'm good. I'll pass. But if it's funny on purpose and there's a reason behind the funny, then I'm all about it. Yeah, I like stuff that connects with me in a way. And sometimes it doesn't, like this last project, it don't necessarily connect with my life per se, but there's a underlying thing in the project that I think makes sense for people, that's gonna be good for people to see. And so if it's good, when I say good, I don't mean just good to watch, but just good. If it's good for the world, if it'll help people or make people feel good in a way, in the right way, then I'm down for it.
We're talking about some of the roles that you've taken in the past. Out of all of your roles that you've done, what project would you say, what role would you say you've enjoyed performing the most?
All of them, at the beginning of my career, I loved Army-wise because I was able to train in with the Army. I'm running and shoot. I got guns and blowing up. So I love doing that. I love doing Scandal because it was real and raw. I love doing theater. A Lesson Before Dying is a play that I got the award for. That by far was my first experience where I really was like, I'm an actor, Like I'm good at this. That's the first time my mom actually was like, because when I first started acting, she was like, are you sure? You have this great job, this degree. And my mom came to that play. And I remember when I came out from the dressing room at the end of the play, my aunt, my stepdad were like out there like, congratulations, you did good. All the other people. And I was like, where's my mom? And they was like, she's still in the theater. And I go into the theater and she's still sitting there crying. Like not boo-hooing, but just like tears. And I'm like, hey, what's up? And she was like, and she literally looked at me and she was like, yeah. She was like, you're gonna be doing this forever, huh? I was like, I told you. She was like, that was beautiful. And that moment, that's when I was like, okay. Yeah, I was like, this is what I want to do. Because it was the play. If y'all haven't seen the movie or read the book or seen the play, it's called Lesson Before Dying. It's so good. And I played Jefferson. And that was one of the first moments. But the role that I just did is one of my favorites because I had to learn how to play a drum kit. I played myself at 25 and at like 75.
Okay.
So it was a lot happening. This was the most involved role that I ever had to do, where it's like you are a part of this cast and this is months and months and months of training. And so I really like that because it was the dream come true. But every role when I get it is my favorite role. I'm excited every time I get a role. Yeah.
You put so much energy into their craft and people likely don't know how hard it is to do what you do. So how do you feel when people really let you know that they appreciate your work, they appreciate what you're doing? That would normally be an easy question for most people. For me, it's not. I'll start out by saying it's the best feeling in the world because, like you said, you put in so much work into what you're doing, and it takes up days and hours of your life that you're pouring yourself into something. And so when people receive it, then it feels amazing and it validates. But I realized, I was talking to some friends about this recently, is that I think I'm an impressive kind of person, which means that I do well at stuff. I'm grateful for that. When I try stuff, I do really well. For me now, because I work so hard, when someone appreciates something that I do, it feels so good because I worked so hard at it. But in the past, I feel like I need more work to do. But I do something well and people are like, oh, congratulations. And then I feel bad, like a fraud. So I'm like, I could have been better. I could have done way better than that. Even though you like what I'm doing, I'm a fraud because I didn't put in the amount of work that I should have or could have. Now, I don't waste the time. Like if I have a project coming up, I put in the energy and the time, so I receive the feedback way differently than I did when I was younger, when I wasn't putting in the same amount of time, if that makes sense at all. That's what's up. Starting something new always comes with taking risks and stepping out there into the unknown. What advice would you give to an aspiring actor or comedian or someone thinking about writing? What advice would you give that person that is considering going into that industry?
Do it right now. Don't wait till tomorrow. Don't wait till an hour. Do it right now. Literally right in this moment. Like I said earlier, the true desires of your heart is proof. It's proof of whatever you believe in. The true desires of your heart is proof that God is real. It's proof that the universe conspires for your greater good. It's proof that positive energy is for you. If you believe something in your heart that you want to do something and it doesn't hurt old people, babies, kids, or nature or animals, to do it right now, to do it today, not to wait at all, to push past fear. Because the longer you wait, the harder it gets, the more anxiety you have around it, and you're going to suck anyway in the beginning. No matter when you start, you're going to be terrible. I mean, you can be okay, but you're going to suck in your brain at whatever you're doing, no matter when you start. So whether you do it now and get it out the way or do it later, it don't matter. You got to go through the crap of it all in order to get to what you see, because we see something in our heads, and what the fear is that when we do it, it's not matching up with what we see in our heads. But in order to get to that, you got to keep doing it. So then you need to be doing that, and you don't need to wait to do it. I think that for me, one of the biggest lessons I've learned was to not care. I cared so much about what other people thought about me, and I'll be honest, you got to stop caring about what other people think and follow what's inside, regardless of what people gonna say about you. You got to just do it. Don't wait.
Right.
Don't wait.
But they gonna say it anyway, and it's some people would say it's their business what they think about you, not yours.
Yeah, not at all. I mean, and people always go, do you have haters? I'm like, I don't know. I mean, if I do, they don't really have much to hate on anymore, because I'm great. Like, I'm doing it. Like, they can hate if they want to, but I'm still succeeding, and I'm still following and living my truth, my calling, and my purpose. So, I mean, it doesn't even matter. Things that used to matter back before I started doing it, I look back, I'm like, man, what a waste of my time, man. I just choose love over fear now.
That's right. Now, for my audience that wants to connect with you, how do we find you?
On Instagram, Antjuan Tobias is funny. Antjuan Tobias is funny. I'm on Twitter, Antjuan Tobias. Facebook, Antjuan Tobias. TikTok, Antjuan Tobias. You literally can just look me up as Antjuan Tobias. I'm all over the place. For website, AntjuanTobias.com. But yeah, man, I'm out there. You just gotta look me up on any social media platforms, or you really can just Google me and all my stuff just pop up. If you want to get in contact with me. But I post most of my comedy shows on Instagram, and then I have a link tree on the Instagram that has the tickets and all that kind of stuff. But I'm out there.
Well, I want to thank you for coming on the Calvin D Project this week. For those that have not, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Hit the notification icon if you have not. Thank you again for listening to the Calvin D Project.